Chris like totally wows his brother with all of his amazing cod knowledge. He's like so amazed, bro. They're like best friends. Well, they're gonna be.
Welcome to the Assorted Kinds Independent Filmmaking Podcast. In this episode, we are talking about our film Car Guys with director Hayden Harrower.
Hello.
And actor Michael Morrissey.
Howdy.
I'm Christopher Ryan Laughter.
And I'm Kevin Rosenkwan, and we will be your hosts for today's episode. So, let's get right to it.
Guys,
Okay.
what was this film about? Give me the plot, the summary.
Okay.
What is this?
This is a project really about a guy who really I like to think he's very insecure and that he just desperately wants validation. That's really what this is about. And it's about another guy who is on his own journey, I think. It's a short film. That's what they call it, a short film. And it's comedic. But I do think, thinking more about it, I think that even the straight man has his own journey. There was a little moment there where he's like, you know what, I need to loosen up. But even that vulnerability gets taken advantage of.
And I think that's kind of what, we may have talked on previous podcasts about like the difference between a sketch and a short, but I think you kind of highlighted what separates this from just being a sketch, in that both of the characters, it's not just kind of like, this is the straight guy because he's our guest host on Saturday Night Live today. And he can't really be funny. But they both have a journey, and that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And we'd love to take credit for it, but, as we're going to get to.
And
can't.
normally when pitching ideas, Hayden and I's name is usually on the conversation of this is a sketch and this is not a short film.
Yep.
And incidentally, we didn't even write this one.
Yeah.
Hence why we were perfect for the job.
Right.
Yay.
Right.
Yeah.
But what I think what was so fun is like it is totally all about insecurity. And it is all like the comedy that's in it comes from that person who is so incredibly insecure that they're so animated and so much,
Which I love.
which is fun.
Yeah, which is fun.
Which one is more insecure?
Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, the obvious answer would be the crazy
Chris,
guy.
yeah.
Chris.
Yeah, that's always what I assumed.
But I mean, if you squint in, you kind of tilt your head a little bit, maybe the other guy, because I think which I don't think he has a name, by the way. I don't think we've ever
Oh my
named.
gosh,
Right,
is
I
that
don't
true?
think
I
he-
never
No, that
thought about
can't be
that.
true.
No, I'm pretty sure that's true. I think.
No,
gosh,
it's not.
what's
It's
his
definitely
name?
it's definitely got a name. I was stressing about it. I was trying to remember what it was, but
I want to
What
say.
is it?
call Tom. Someone call Tom.
All right, okay, hold on. I'm on hold with kombucha right
Okay,
now.
good.
But
When you
I'll
get back to
switch
them, I wanna
over
hear
and
about
call
that.
Tom.
Well, I preface with that, right? Like, which one's more insecure? Because, like, if you are extremely judgmental,
Yes.
I assume you're
Yes.
insecure.
And that's where I was going with
Absolutely.
that.
And it's like it is exactly that thing of who's more insecure, the guy that's letting his freak flag fly and wearing the crazy stuff or saying the crazy things, or the person who's too held back to just is always just straight face like, oh yeah, geez, so I would like it. There's definitely a lot to that.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's maybe why he gets so over the top angry at the end, because he
yeah.
does let he opens himself up,
Right.
and he kind of gets
Yes.
slapped in the face for it.
Yeah.
And so, if that happens, if people are vulnerable and they get caught or whatever, sometimes they'll
Well, it's frustrating too,
Go
because it's like
180
the
degrees
one
and lash
time
out.
that I was actually vulnerable, it
Right,
fucking
and you
bites me in the
fucking
ass.
So, okay, before we really talk about kind of getting into the project, let's talk about Hayden and Mike, you guys' relationship, and kind of where that was before Car Guys.
Oh,
Yeah.
Lead us into Car Guys.
I'm glad that you started with that, actually, because I think me and Mike have been friends for 8 years now.
Almost 10. I almost
Oh
met you
yeah,
10
that's
years
right.
ago.
Yeah, it's 2010. Yeah, so it's almost 10 years now, and we did improv comedy together. That's how we met, and then we've done a lot of projects together since. And I think it did take a step forward because this was probably the most serious project we've ever done. Not in content, but just in the levity of the situation. It wasn't improv where you could just do something and it was gone forever. It was going to be there, and it was with a lot of people who also were putting their time into this project too. So I think it was really cool it was really great for me to take on this project because I already knew who my comedic genius was going to be, right? Like I knew that in the bag going in that Mike was going to rock this role and that he was going to do great. But there's always a part of you that feels like, is he funny in my living room or is he funny on camera? And we didn't really know that. And I think we are both a little
Or is it just
apprehensive about
like,
it.
exactly? And is it like we think that we're funny?
Right.
It was very much like I was living in New York and doing comedy, and Hayden
Yeah.
was living in San Diego doing comedy.
Yep.
And it just came to the time where we were like, why don't we both go to LA and just do comedy at the same time?
Yeah.
And it was a big money where your mouth is kind of moment of like, are we funny outside of this? Do people actually like this? And there was definitely kind of like a weight lifted when something went well, and people even chuckled at it. It was like, okay, we're gonna be fine. Like all because we every night before we were just like, oh, and then this, or like, and this, wouldn't it be so crazy if this? And then just like to have even a singular person approve, it was like, okay, because if no one liked any of it, like it'd be like, oh, what are we gonna do with all this stuff we thought about?
Right. Yeah. I think even that first take, I think I was kind of holding my breath, and I think even that first take, you kind of flubbed it a little bit.
I did.
'Cause
I
you were
remember the
like-
very first take we did. The very, very, very first shot. I think something happened, and I literally like called line or something. I messed up the line, and I was like,
And
oh
he had
god.
practiced this so much.
And we stopped because someone was like, "Oh, there's something wrong anyway." And Hayden was like, "There, we did. It's out of the way. You messed it up,
Yeah.
and now we can just relax." And that's how it worked.
Yeah, you're talking about the first line in Car Guys.
The very first
not the
line.
first
Right.
line in your relationship ever.
No. I messed that up too.
that too.
God, I flubbed that one up.
Oh, geez.
Well, it's interesting because I feel like it's even more compounded because it's not. This isn't something that the two of you guys like created and wrote from the ground up
Right.
either. This is also
Yeah.
taking material from somebody else and then putting that forward. So I feel like you'd even feel a little more confident being like, well, we got all the time, we wrote it together, we knew what we were doing, but this is like something you have to kind of adapt and make your own. Which
Yeah.
should we talk about?
Yeah,
that,
let's
that
get
this was
into
a
it.
separate script.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Or written separately?
I'll kind of just talk a little bit about this script coming into the film club originally, right? As we were going into number 4,
Right.
which is when I believe both of you plus Matt Kraft, who was the writer, plus a
Right.
few of our other friends, kind of entered the world of Assorted Kinds.
Yeah.
Not really knowing what you guys were stepping into. This is our first introduction to the people outside of the original 9 players. And we invited everybody to bring scripts if they had them. We were going to kind of share new scripts because we were kind of hitting a peak on all right, well, we've had some scripts in the group and we've already made all those. So we get one of the scripts that didn't get chosen was Car Guys. So this is in month number 4, right? And to give you context, this is release number 7.
Oh gosh, I'm gonna find it out, but
Okay,
you can keep going.
I believe it's
we
release
get
number
that one
7.
out.
However, it was production number 11.
Yeah.
I'm just making up numbers. So give you context,
Oh, I think we're 12.
It was
actually.
old.
Car Guys
It
was 12.
predated.
12.
I think it predated
Yeah.
Hayden and I. I remember coming to the first
Yeah.
meeting.
Yeah.
And Matt Davino saying something like, "Oh, it's just got to be 2 locations." This guy Matt actually just wrote this one we liked last week. It's just 2 guys in a car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember hearing that the first meeting, being like, "Oh, okay."
Yep.
And then whenever we submitted a sketch, you guys were like, no, go read Car Guys. Because this,
Yeah.
we
is,
referenced it.
this is what we want.
Because our first script we submitted was 10 minutes long and multiple locations and
Right.
lots
Bro.
of graphic
Right.
editing and whatnot.
Right.
But
You guys
we
wanna
learned
go
a lot
big?
from that.
Have fun
Going
with
big's
that.
going big's great, but
It was a very much like a nice
parameters, right?
hone it in.
Right
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
So Car Guys didn't get selected in that first pass. We went with Pre-Recorded Therapist, which
Right.
was Derek Scully's script, and
Right.
that's out on the internet.
And Matt ended up he ended up directing another thing in the
Yeah.
interim as well, so
Yeah.
it was completely separate.
Yep. And so then I think that once Car Guys didn't get selected, there's just gonna be some assuming here. Matt Kraft, sorry, you can speak on your own behalf in the comments.
In the comments.
And I'm assuming that it not getting chosen and him having other ideas, he kind of was more excited about those other ideas and exploring those ideas. And so then Car Guys kept getting pushed aside and kind of it was like the redheaded stepchild of potential scripts. But we kept saying, dude, that script is really good. And we
Everybody kept
really
bringing it
should
up
make
over
it.
and over again.
We really should
Remember
make
that.
that script. Just because it didn't get selected does not mean it was not good. 'Cause,
Right.
Holy crap. It was perfect format. It was
Right.
ready to go. It didn't really need much work. And so then finally we got to a moment where, again, with even the new players, we're running out of scripts. We're running out of projects we can make, and we're like, "Oh, dude, we really." Car Guy is sitting in the vault, the script vault, and we really should just pick it. And so we did, right?
Yeah.
We were in a meeting, and we were all there.
It was our first
That
meeting. I
was-
think we didn't have a script pitched. I think it was the first time that we were like
the first
oh
vault
crap!
script
All of
we
our
made.
writers are exhausted because we
Yeah.
don't have anything else. And I think it was your idea that you were like, let's see what's in here.
Go
and,
to the vault.
And then as soon as Car
I was
Guys was
texted.
mentioned,
I was texting everybody who had a script in the vault, like,
Yeah.
"Hey, are you down? If we pick it, are you down?
Can we
right?
choose your
And-
scripts?
Yeah,
Right.
And
So not even there.
Car Guys was like the one that he was like, "Yeah, whatever, man, cool, go for it."
Yeah, he was always that way too. He was just like, yeah, I mean, if you guys want to
If you
do
guys
it,
are into it, yeah, go for it,
anytime,
man.
use it.
yeah.
And from
And
what I know, he was especially hands off. He was like, I wish I had time. I just don't have time.
Yeah.
If you guys want to do it, go for it. But I'm gonna be pretty hands off.
So did
which
you
is great
guys-
for us?
Did you guys do any rewriting of the script
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
changing
We
it
did,
around
we did
once you
some.
got it?
I mean, you guys loved it so much, and we loved it so much that we didn't want to change the nature of the script. There were certain turns that were key to the script we didn't want to change. We did add small things just to punch it up a little bit, just to make it a little funnier, which was actually a great position for me and Mike to be in because we love taking something that's already kind of grounded and then just seeing where can we wrinkle it. And so it was a really good opportunity for us. And you know, Matt was awesome about really just giving us freedom on that.
Yeah,
He was
he
like,
was great.
you guys take it, you're going to do great with it. Just take it and run with it. And I think this was the first really collaborative project from start to finish.
Super.
It was written by somebody else, it was directed by someone, and then it was acted by different people. And then even really Matt Davino, I'm going to give a lot of credit to because in the post, he did a lot of work on it that made it really shine. And kind of hid some of the newbie director mistakes. So, you know, we're gonna brush that aside.
We'll talk.
Uh,
We're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into that.
I think like the fundamentals stay the same, but I was doing something else at the time, and I wasn't a part of this initially. But I remember it was Hayden's first time that he was like, "I'm ready. I'm really ready to direct something. I'm gonna do it." And he told me about it in a weekend. He was like, "I might even want you to possibly read if you're interested for the part." But
I
also, I
was
don't
being
know.
coy.
Me and Chris are like going to be looking at other people too. I just don't know. So he sent me the script, and I liked it so much. And I was like, I would love to read for it, but I'm not. I think the original, it is very similar to the original version.
Yeah.
I think the original was more of like an EDM
Yeah.
kind of guy. And I was like, I really think we could do it really well, but I don't think I could do it like this.
Right.
But I could definitely do it like this if
Yeah.
you want to do that. And as soon as that was kind of set in stone of more of this like, whatever that Chris character is, that kind of like I was kind of like imagining like someone like Jamie Kennedy and like Malibu's Most
Yeah.
Wanted with like this and with this and this. And then as soon as we did that, that was every day coming home from work being like, can you imagine what if he does this? Or like he
Yeah.
would definitely do this. And,
And
then
then?
that's
So then Chris, I'm gonna steal hosting duties away so I can ask you guys about
Yeah.
pre-pro. I know we
Hold on a second,
talked
let me get
about
drunk for a second.
Yeah, hold on.
Hey.
Chug that booch while I ask the question. Well, we said that the script was notoriously like a simple premise or something that was very shootable and that was attractive. But were there any like difficulties? I feel like we're always under the gun because we're trying to get it done within a month.
Well,
So-
okay, so we choose a script, right? We selected the script, but then the question is, oh shit, well, who's going to direct the script, right?
yeah.
So we shout to Slack. We use Slack for all of our kind of collective conversations. And so we throw in Slack like, hey, okay, this is the script that was chosen. We also email this to everybody. I'm like, cool. Who is anybody interested in directing? Right? We just throw the wide net out. Who's down to direct? Right? And there's crickets. So then Hayden and I are, we had just come off the heels of was Demon Cooler the one before?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. Because I just produced something with you.
Yeah, so Hayden had just produced Demon Cooler
Yeah.
for me, which was my second written and directed by project. Great job. Thank you very much.
well.
Your support was well needed and well executed.
Finally, a thank you.
Some
Finally.
validation. You deserve it,
on
buddy.
air of all things.
So then, right, okay, so I'm thinking to myself, man, I would really love to direct something that didn't write. And this is a perfect opportunity to explore that. However, it's not fair for me to get to direct that right after I directed my own thing. So I say to Hayden, like, dude,
Try
I'm
to
like,
spread it out.
yeah, I was like, I want to direct it, but do you want to direct it? And you just said, yeah, I think I could be down. I think I could be into it. And mind you, Hayden had been in the film club for months, supporting many people in their endeavors.
Right.
Yeah.
And on the back end, I'm like,
Yeah, we were all kind of waiting.
just
We were
rubbing
just
my
like,
hands like,
"Okay,
hell
let's get
yeah.
this guy
My
in the
boy's about to
director's
jump
chair."
in.
I can't wait till you guys
Get
hear
him
my
in
perspective
there.
on this time.
So then
Get some shit to get off my chest.
yeah, right. So Hayden says, okay, I think I want to do it. And so I just like, cool. You sure? Are you positive? Right? We were like, I think we sleep on it. And then you're like, yeah, I'm in. All right, go time. I'm producing.
And
I
you
think
know,
that's how it happened.
That's basically how it happened. But from the other angle, I was being again very coy. This seems to be my move. I didn't realize that until this podcast.
hard to get.
But I as soon as we decided, because I was at that meeting that we pulled out Car Guys, and we were like, let's do it. And in my head, I was like, oh shit. It's on my radar. I want to do it. I wanted to direct. That's what I came to film club for. It's what I wanted to do. But you know, when you work with such amazing directors and DPs and cameras, it's
Go on. No, you keep going.
and audio.
Please.
People on the did I talk about the audio?
I'm
my
gonna
God,
loop.
crystal
I'm gonna
clear.
loop this part of the podcast over and over again.
The
It's-
bootstrap.
Help
and
you.
It's hard. I mean, it was really hard for me to be like, I want to direct it. Like, it was hard for me to do that. And so, you know, I remember talking with Mike in our kitchen. I was like, look, I want to do this, but I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait until everybody has had a chance to say. And if no one wants to do it, I'll do it. Because I felt almost scared isn't the right word. I think apprehensive. I was just apprehensive to like do it. I also was scared shitless to actually direct. I mean, I wanted to do it, but I was very scared. And so when I think you came around to me right before I was going to approach you, and you were like, "Hey, do you want to do it?" I was like, "Ooh, I'm going to ask Stevie Hawkins." And so I was like, and so that I had to respond. You're like, yeah, I guess I'll do it.
I mean,
right?
let me check my schedule.
But it was the perfect project for me because it was a shootable script. It was easy to shoot, but it had some interesting moments in it. It had some dramatic moments that I could just see it in my head. I wanted to play up some of those moments, and I wanted to make it because I love absurd comedy, and I love when the filming of it brings out the absurdity, right? When the characters can be true to themselves, but I can put in a little extra music, when I can put in a little bit different of a frame, when I can you know, like the Family Guy and those kind of, when they really satire it, when they really mirror the image of it. That was what I was really into. So it was a really great script to start out on because it was simple, but it also provided me a big challenge because I didn't know up from down.
Well, I really want to unpack the whole being afraid to jump into the fire.
Okay.
I want to unpack it
right, because
because
this is like a little microcosm of Assorted Kinds
Yeah,
as a
it
whole.
is.
It's
dude,
sort of,
it really
the
is.
what Chris is
epicenter.
Yeah.
trying to do.
It really
here.
is because listen, man, like before Fantastic Folly of Future Jess was like my first written and directed by. Had directed one script before that.
Right.
That I did not write.
Right.
I was terrified to do that one.
Right.
I was terrified to do Fantastic Folly because I was terrified of fucking this thing up that I
Right.
wrote that I
Right.
don't even know what the fuck I'm doing.
Right.
And so I don't know, like I really want to know
Yeah.
like choosing to do it and just saying fuck that fear. I'm going to walk through the fire because this is what I want to do. Like unpack that with me.
It was less about it was it's gonna sound a little anticlimactic. It was less a brave story of me being like, I'm gonna do it and go against the fire. And it was more of if I don't do it now, I'm never gonna do it. Like this is the opportunity. All of the cosmos was aligned. Like I didn't mention December because I knew it was December in my head because no one wanted to do it, or people wanted to do it. Let's clarify things. People wanted to do it. I don't think people always had the time or the wherewithal in that time of year to do it. And so it was even hard for me to pull it off. But I was like, if I'm not going to do this now, this is the only opportunity where no one's going to want to take a good script. And it's a script that's right up my alley. That's something I do know with a guy. I know I can cast it. If I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it. And like Mike said, like we did move to LA to do this. Like to me, doing Car Guys was sort of the pinnacle of a childhood dream of directing a comedic project in LA with quality people with my best friend acting as the lead. Like that was it for me. Like I was like, wow, I made it. Like I don't need to have the big billboard.
I don't need to do anything else.
I don't need to do anything else. I'm done, and I've retired. No, but no, that was for me. That was sort of like that was I needed to feel what that felt like.
Yeah.
And I knew that I could do it. I didn't know if it was gonna be clean. I don't know if it was gonna be great, but I knew I could do it. I knew I had the mindset for it. I knew I had the wherewithal to learn what I need to learn.
Yeah.
And did it.
We have casting.
Talk about casting
We have
Tom.
casting,
I mean,
yeah.
the only way we've talked definitely about how.
Oh yeah.
How we cast Mike, or Mike cast,
Mike was
cast
already casted before the thing was.
Yeah, he was cast 8
Yeah.
years ago, and he worked for 8 damn years
To
to
get in his
finally
car.
get into that car.
He paid his dues. Well, I mean, but think about it from my perspective. Like, I worked on not only Demon Cooler, but I worked on Job's project, escaping my mind at the moment.
Loved Ones.
Loved Ones, yes. And I worked on one before that as well. And
House Tour? Were you on House?
No, it wasn't House Tour. It was right before Demon Cooler.
Let
it
Me
was
Go.
Let Me Go. And so I helped with the casting. I helped with all these different things. And so I had seen that process, and I knew that if I was going to cast that right, it was going to take me a lot of man hours to cast that role right. And so for him to be on deck was just so much easier than doing that, because even if I auditioned everybody, he probably still would have been the best.
Right.
So it was something that it was just like, that's going to happen. And then Tom is actually an interesting story because
Yeah, Tom is.
Do I get tied to this story?
you do. You do
Yay!
get tied to the story. So
This is my assorted kinds.
Oh, Jesus. Okay, well, hold on.
car guy. Well, no, I'm just kidding.
Definitely not.
But
Shrink the booch.
this is a truly collaborative project in all aspects, because even the casting was due to me being an actor / extra. Well, credit me for the extra on Choices, right? And I got to sit across from Tom for about 8 hours.
You didn't know him
I
prior.
mean, yeah, I,
I had-
made
It
them
was more
sit
than
as
that. It was a
extras
long
for
day.
That was a long
12-hour
day.
If you look in like one of the it's like the if you're stage left,
Yes.
stage left duo
Yeah.
is Hayden and Tom.
And
They're
Hayden-
in the background.
And so I had
That's why I had to put
Kinds
Hayden on
Easter
the
egg,
right hand
actually.
side of his scene. Otherwise, he would be behind himself. Which
I
that
really
would
wanted.
break the space time
Whoa.
continuum. And I wasn't ready to write a sci-fi yet. I wrote the sci-fi later.
ready.
I'll take credit
When
for
you're
his
ready.
his,
That's
his
how it
next one.
works.
So I was sitting next to Tom. I had no idea who he was. Tom is a great guy. Big fan of Tom. Tom La Rochelle. Let's give him-
Rochelle.
Let's give him that credit.
Oh, that name.
And Tom is a fantastic actor.
Can we all say it together real quick? 1, 2, 3.
It's like wiping your ass with silk.
No,
Well,
I like that. We're gonna keep that. Keep
That's
it
a,
in.
that's a Matrix 2 reference. I'm sorry. I'm
No,
just
No, don't be sorry for that.
it's not-
Matrix 2, quality
Yeah.
film.
Yeah.
it's just an
I
explicit
appreciate what
podcast.
you just did, Kevin. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I don't know it, but I
See,
appreciate
I
it.
edit the
loved
podcast,
it.
so I get to edit
Hey!
that out. It's
No!
good. no,
Don't edit
no.
it out.
I won't.
But Tom was so great on set, and it was really funny. I don't know if any of this was actually captured. I hope not. But we spent so much time across from each other pretending to be in conversation that within an hour we just started having conversation. We got very good at lip reading, and so we just developed this rapport. We talked about a lot of things that day. We're not going to talk about what we talked about, but we talked about a lot of things that day through lip reading, to the point where I think early on the
amazing.
day, either Jeremy or Kevin was like, "Hey, can you guys be more normal and actually act like you're talking?" Mouthing the words and hand signing to each other. We were like,
Why is there papyrus
Well,
paper
yeah, I mean-
over there?
Yeah.
Well, it might be worth mentioning, like, just for like new folks who don't know, that when you do big crowd scenes or restaurant scenes like that, and you have all the extras in the background, it sounds like they're all talking. They are not talking, especially in party scenes. That's the weird thing when you actually shoot party
Yes.
scenes, and everybody's like jancing around and shit, but like everybody has to be real quiet. It's really kind of weird and creepy for the lead actors who have to act in front of it. But you do that so that you can record the main dialogue voices without other stuff muddying in the background. So,
which
it's
I
an
didn't
art.
know. I didn't know until that day. I really didn't. I thought we were far enough away, but so we had that
I mean,
report.
you were really new to Hollywood, so
Yeah,
it's
just
it's
very
okay.
green.
It's okay.
I was just starry-eyed.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have put a microphone on you. I don't know why I did that in retrospect.
Right.
So it was easy. It was easy for me to just be like, "Hey Tom, what are you doing?" And Tom was really, really gracious. Tom does commercials. He is an actor. He does that for, I think, a living.
He's a writer too.
And he does a lot of writing,
Yeah.
and he's even got a show that he's workshopping and stuff with potentially network. So he's doing good
He's
stuff.
a really funny dude.
So
Yeah.
he did me a solid because I knew he was great at doing serious stuff, but I knew he had the comedic chops to hang with this guy. And the one thing that I really wanted to bring in going to the shoot was that I really, really wanted a shoot where we just let the actors go. And then we let the editing do a lot of the directing in some ways, because I really wanted to let the actors just kind of go with what they had. I knew working with him for years, with him for years. It's
my assorted kind.
Yeah. But working with him for years, I knew that he just had so much more than lines were there, and I just needed someone to be able to poke that bear, to bring out more of him. And Tom was absolutely perfect. I mean, that last take that we have, or the last shot of the short is all them. I mean, that's none of that's written. It's just them.
Yeah, that's right.
Keep
That-
going.
I
And I
feel it
held
too.
everybody. I was
You
like,
feel
don't
it.
cut it. Don't cut it. Let it keep going.
We were just losing our shit.
Get out of
Honestly.
my garage.
Mike was
so hard.
Mike
on
was
set.
50 yards away from the camera at that point. I was like, don't cut it. Just
I was
keep it
borderline
going.
done. I
Laughing
walked
so
away
hard.
and I improvised something, and I just like being silly, like to Matt Davino or something. But then I like I looked back at Tom, and he was like, his eyes were like, he was like still going, and I looked at you like, I was like, oh, let's keep going. It was like because Tom just like wouldn't stop.
Yeah.
And he was so funny with that stuff.
And so that moment, that was like, I did it right, because that was right what I wanted.
Tom, and I remember specifically you checking in, and you were like, this is the one like kind of emotional scene where it's like very hammy, but you were like, you got to get like kind of emotional, so just try to like get into it as much as you can, and like the more serious it is, the funnier it's gonna be. We're gonna make it really silly. So I was trying to get into I was trying to like somewhat try to get in the moment, and Tom kept being like, what did he say? He was like, did you ever hear the theme song to Crocodile? No, was it Crocodile Dundee? I forget what it was. He was like, you ever hear the theme song to Crocodile Dundee? And I was like trying to like stay a little focused. I was like, no. He was like, oh, it's great. Hold on, let me play it for you. And he was like, God, freaking iPhone's not working. It was like we kept talking about like the crocodile. That he was just like on all the.
He is
so
funnier.
funny.
He is funnier in between takes.
He is, and he snapped
funny.
right into being that straight man like right away. He's such a funny guy.
That's interesting because you think from a casting point of view, you're like, let's cast a very like dramatic or serious actor in the straight role, and we cast a comedian in the comedian role. But it's actually much smarter to cast two comedians, both the
Absolutely.
roles, and have one of them play the straight person, because timing really does factor into it.
Because you have to know how to be straight, but also to have that comedic mindset of like, how do I keep
Timing.
it, have
Yeah.
it keep
Timing.
it going?
Well, Matt
Timing.
Besser,
Yeah.
who wrote helped write all the UCB Upright Citizens Brigade improv curriculum, like he said, he was like, the straight man is the funnier guy. He has to do all the work. Like
Right.
if you're making a comedy, a Laurel and Hardy-esque comedy, like that's the person to put the money into. Like you need that person who can do both. It's not easy. And Tom was so ridiculous.
Very good.
I remember telling Hayden, I was like, Hayden, I think I can play the straight man.
Yeah.
I think I could do
See, he
it.
was trying to get into choices. He
know.
fooled me, but he didn't fool you.
I
You
know.
were like,
But
no,
I
want
remember
your
that being a
tricks.
thing for a second.
I considered it. I considered it.
I was like, I'm really excited about this, but I'm also fucking terrified.
Oh, man.
yeah. And I knew you could do it.
And it would be
if-
great. It would just be that's what's so cool about all these different things, especially in the film club, of seeing a script, and especially with Matt Kraft, who wrote a really good one. You let a lot of time happen. It's like it can be a million things.
Right.
If you were in it, it would have been very funny. If it was you and me, it would have been very funny, but such a different thing from me and Tom and or anybody else.
Yeah.
Like it is crazy how. I don't know if you put it all on the director, who you put it all on, but or a producer, all these little decisions you're making. If you're picking so-and-so or so-and-so for a DP, it's going to look different.
Yeah, it's a collaboration. It's through and through. It is a collaboration. There is no I in filmmaking except for that one I in
Except that-
between.
it's a
Yeah.
small
Yeah,
one.
it's
It's
not
not even
I wish that would work
uppercase.
out
I
because it
know.
sounds like such
Yeah,
a great
I know,
phrase.
I
Except for
know.
that one,
Stupid
and that one is
filmmaking.
irrelevant.
Well,
There's
if you
no
say
I in movies.
filmmaking,
No.
then just two eyes.
Yeah.
But two eyes make a team.
Do you want to?
Filmmaking.
You
Can
mentioned
I-
the
can I-
two eyes. Oh,
go
yeah,
ahead.
sure.
Can I do something really
Yes.
not great for podcast?
No.
I have to go take a pee.
We're gonna drink while you take a pee.
Worst.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Can I
no,
do that
go
real quick?
for it.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
burst. And I
He's
was
gonna
like,
go
you guys
pee.
are- you guys
Okay.
are
Hold on, we're gonna take a quick break.
Are we stopping it? Are we just
Play
gonna let
some-
it go?
Yeah, they're gonna play. Hold on, just everybody be quiet. I'm gonna play some music right now. Okay, the music's done now. We're back. I gotta remember to put in music now. It's just like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, where they have to like remember to do things.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it won't work. So, Kevin, in the future, when you're editing this, finish the music already. We got to get back into it.
God,
Okay.
I hope that stays in there.
So, first question: was there a DP on this shoot?
Yes.
Second question: did he have a name?
Yes, it's Jeremy Brilliant.
That was my third question. How'd you know that?
You know how to, do you actually know how to pronounce his last name?
Brilliant.
Brilliant.
Oh, is it
Brilliant.
Y? Is it
Brilliant.
Y?
Well, it's French. Is that how you pronounce it?
What's
Franche.
Tom's last name again?
Franck. What?
What's Tom's
Oh,
last name?
1, 2, 3.
La Rochelle.
Oh, La Rochelle, like wiping your butt. With the soda.
Silk.
Yeah, no, I call him Jeremy Brilliant because he's brilliant.
Yeah.
The reason I bring him up is in context of you talking about really wanting to hand it over to the actors, give the actors as much time. Oftentimes, especially we're talking about commercials, things that are much more visually heavy.
Yeah.
You spend most of the time lighting the set. You spend most of the time technically getting everything set up, and then by the time the actors are able to get on there, we're just kind of like move.
Yeah.
So you want to talk about whether or not you thought Jeremy was kind of conducive to the way you wanted to shoot this?
I owe Jeremy more than I've given him. Let's just say that.
We all do.
Well, because as a new director, you're thinking about how to get it captured right. But what you're not always thinking about until you're shooting is what the crew has to do in what order to get said shots. And I remembered thinking so much about the order of the shoot based on trying to capture the performance, but my greenness really showed in terms of ordering the shot list, in terms of what the crew would have to do. So Jeremy, I will give Jeremy a huge shout out because I think somebody mentioned this to me on set. I think it might have been Matt or someone, who I had made him set up on one side of the car and then move to the other side of the car, and then God, I hate even saying this. I hate even saying this. And then move back.
I feel dirty for you. I
Same
feel dirty for you.
spot. And
You got to learn about block shooting. You know?
yeah, that was
about
to my credit. Now I'll give myself some credit. I pulled an audible, having realized this after we went back, and I was like, "Oh shit, Jeremy's gonna kill me if I keep doing this all day." And that was my original plan, without really knowing what I was doing.
Right.
And so we had taken a break, I think, a third of the way through the shot. And nobody was around me. I think everybody was chilling outside. But me and Juan went into the bunker and just were like, dude, we got to do this right because I am fucking this up right now and I don't want to fuck this up. So we had to rearrange the shots mid-shooting and make sure that we still had everything. So from that point on, my alertness was up to an 11 because I wanted to make sure, most importantly, that I didn't miss any shots, that I didn't miss any dialogue, that I didn't miss anything that wouldn't make sense. My whole goal for the shoot was just make it make sense.
And Juan was
Just
the
make it
assistant
make
director.
sense.
Yeah, so it's back.
And Juan Gil is an
Yeah.
amazing guy.
He is remarkable.
He's an amazing guy, and he was really, really helpful on the day of the shoot. He was my AD, and he really helped me just go on my P's and Q's. I mean,
First time AD, by the way.
Yeah, and that's
it
a
was
really
his 30th in my view.
that's kind of the big job of the assistant director is to deal with the scheduling and that happens. You know, I think that happens all the time. Not because of directors' mistakes. It could be anything like nothing's ever going to go the way that it's originally scheduled, and that's why you have the assistant director there, so that the director could then meet with the assistant director. So it's interesting that you guys didn't need a formal education of this is what you're supposed to do. You just went and did it, and naturally happened, and it just shows that's where that relationship comes from.
And we were both nervous. I mean, the night before, we had been calling each other back and forth, and I had, to give context for the listeners, I was just drawing up my frames on a yellow wide, notepad.
I'm telling you right now, that yellow notepad really fucked me up, man.
Why was this
Why?
so crazy?
Really
I didn't hear about
fucked
this.
Is
me
it the
up,
color?
bro.
I love the yellow.
I was
notepad.
like, man, these fucking storyboards on a yellow legal notepad.
Yeah.
I'm
It was
like-
wide, too. It was a wide
I was
one. It
like,
wasn't even
man,
a long
we gotta
one.
go print these things out. Like, fuck, dude.
Oh, that's your frame of reference for everybody.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Did you
but-
see
start
that
from
notepad
somewhere.
on my dresser? That's what we're doing.
So I had sent these over to him, and we went back and forth, and we were trying to think ahead, right? We were trying to think ahead, all these different things. The one thing we didn't think about was where would the crew be, where would they have to set up. So to go back to Jeremy, he was so patient with us.
He really was patient.
He was very, very patient.
Mind you, without a very skilled G&E crew of his own.
That's true.
That's true, yeah.
He
It
had,
was December and nobody wanted to do it.
That's
right.
true, yeah, we
This
had
was a true.
skeleton
The
crew,
thesis
for
is
sure.
it was December and no one wanted to do it.
Crickets.
Nobody,
folks.
yeah. So we
Crickets.
were the scabs, but we did a really good job because it really is a credit to Jeremy. I think Jeremy made it look professional, and it looks great.
Jeremy's very used to being the DIY, grab the things
Yeah.
and do it yourself.
so it kind of worked out in some
Right.
ways.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
and
feel
he
like
was
that's
the
why we
right
seek him out so
DP
much.
for that situation.
Right.
100%.
Right. He was great to work with, and we had a great relationship. He was so busy because of his own schedule that we didn't actually have a lot of prep, me and him. Most of the prep was me and Juan. And then on the day of the set was when me and Jeremy really started to really work together. And it was great. I mean, I could tell I was fucking up. So I was like, I was beating myself up way more than Jeremy even got close to. I mean, he was super patient with me. He was super nice to me the entire time. And we still ended on time. We ended with the sun still up. So I was happy with it. But it took a lot of stress between me and Juan to really make sure that the rest of the shoot was going to go a lot smoother. And I felt like it did after that initial period.
Right, when you had your powwow,
Yeah.
like, you like kind of cleaned it up.
We cleaned it up, yeah. We
Yeah.
cleaned up the shot list a little bit. And
Yeah.
we started just knocking out one side. And I was like, I'm not going back to this side today. So we're going to get everything done, go through the whole thing again, make
Right.
sure we're getting the one side done. And it was a credit to Mike and Tom because La Rochelle. Because
1, 2,
The last
3.
name. It's the last name you gotta whisper. You know.
you gotta whisper it.
my God.
It was a credit to them because I kind of prepped them for kind of a really sequential day of just say, hey, we're just gonna run it and we're gonna run it all the way through, and then 30% of the way through, I said, hey guys, we're gonna have to do this instead, and they were game, and we had to get into some serious shots pretty quickly after doing some fun shots. So
Right, and that
it was
happens.
really good
that
team
happens
effort.
more often than not. They call it block shooting, and yeah, it's actually it puts a lot of stress on the actor,
Yeah.
like you were saying, because you do have to do things out of order, and God forbid you have to do some sort of a dramatic scene or a scene that starts light and then moves into being dramatic.
Right.
It becomes very difficult. In fact, we were kind of talking about that on a previous podcast, 9-2, where Sabby was just going full out, even when the camera was
Yeah.
not on her,
I
and
remember
how much
that.
that took a toll on her. So it is interesting, a thing that you wouldn't really know watching the finished product.
Right.
Yeah, there's so much to balance.
So shouts to Mr. James Hammond
Hey-o.
for letting us use his
Oh my God.
garage.
Thanks,
James,
dude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
James is one of our recurring DPs. He's the man. He and I have had a long time working relationship. Love this dude so much, and he let us use his garage because it's a nice garage. He lives in a house in a neighborhood in LA.
His garage, but also his backyard for all the
Yeah.
equipment. While this is where James really gets some credit, while his baby was sleeping.
Yeah,
right.
That was something, and I'm gonna leave it to you to tell anything you want to say about that, because that was the producer. Really, you let me not think about that, and I was really conscientious about that, and I'm sure we woke
I
up.
don't even remember this.
I remember.
good.
Not the baby.
I
Oh,
remember
good.
eating Chipotle
Oh.
with like other actors and other people who weren't working every like 4 seconds. It was baby.
Oh, baby,
Baby.
baby voices.
Baby.
These are baby voices.
There was a
I
baby-
do remember
Yes,
this.
yeah, you remember.
Guys, baby voices.
We all thought that he wanted us to talk like babies.
So we did.
They were like,
and-
Right.
They're just like, you guys.
Blair,
are being
thank you as
jerks.
well.
Very much thank you.
Blair.
Serious
Thanks,
shout out to
Blair.
Hopefully,
Blair.
you got the
Appreciate it.
bottle of wine that I sent you guys.
The baby
we-
got it.
We did
for
leave. We
sure.
did leave a grouped signed thank you card with a
Yeah.
bottle of wine
Yes.
for Blair.
Yes.
And also a big shout out to Toro and their amazing car renting
Yo!
services for giving us
Yes.
the Dodge
Guys.
Charger.
that is a great.
So
okay.
that didn't like belong to anybody?
Nope.
No.
I rented that
Oh.
baby.
Toro.
What?
A Toro.
I didn't know that.
There is no. We
Toro
looked
did.
at all the
Yes.
legal disclaimers of
Yep.
Toro, and nothing said you cannot film
Yep.
using
Yeah, it was
this
awesome.
service.
Yep.
Nothing said it.
So there you go, independent filmmakers. Although I will say, if you can get away with it with Avis or something, it's cheaper.
Yeah,
It is cheaper.
But they
Yeah.
have like
I paid a lot for that
specialized
We're not a
cars.
sponsored
like,
ad.
If you're
We
looking
also-
for
you can be
something
honest, it
kind
was
we
of
needed a
expensive.
muscle car.
we needed a muscle car.
Right.
It was perfect. It was souped up. It had
I don't
all
know
the
if you
things
did.
on
I
it.
don't think you did this on purpose, but it
did.
was you good. Okay,
I don't know what
good.
you're gonna
Because
say, but yeah,
for
take credit
about
for it.
9 months before this shoot, every time I saw a Dodge Charger, I was always like, God, you know what? I don't know what it is. I either hate the Dodge Charger or I love it.
And I thought
And
I
it
hated
was
the
so
Dodge
funny
Charger
because
until I
then
drove it to set, and then I was
this
like, I like
whole
the Dodge Charger.
movie is built around this like cool car, this cool muscle car. And then that day, Hayden was like, "Oh, do you want to drive with me to get the car?" And it was the like gray Dodge Charger, and
Yeah.
I was like, "This is so
and that
funny."
was, and that was the fourth. That was the fourth take on that. I had 3 other cars that I wanted to get, and they
Yeah.
all fell through. I had some
Oh,
like
snap.
stripes
Dodge
in the
Charger.
middle, bright whatever, but the Dodge Charger, the silver one, worked out great.
And that's the risky business of peer-to-peer rental
Yeah.
services, right? It happens with camera equipment rentals when you want to rent on ShareGrid or
Right.
Kit Split. So you hit up some filmmaker who's got the gimbal that you want to rent,
Yeah.
and they're like non-responsive or they flake or whatever happens, and so you can't get it for the shoot you want. And it's great that it's inexpensive. Ish, right?
Yeah.
As
It
I
was,
said,
it
as
was,
you
it was
said.
a price.
Yeah.
It was a price.
But you're also risking the potential of like not getting it, which happened
Yeah.
4 times.
I got it. I
Yeah.
got that secured the day before.
yeah.
I got the
man.
car
Yeah.
secured the day before.
Which
and
is
I was
terrifying.
losing my hair. Yeah, it was
That's terrifying.
For that because it was like
Yeah.
we don't have.
You
it,
still have it all, so that's good.
true.
Well, it's the receding part.
Oh,
that
you
I-
hide it with the.
Yeah,
It's a wig.
that's why it's long.
Yeah.
It's a wig.
It's a wig.
So let's shimmy over to like getting this thing finished, man. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
let's talk about.
You mentioned that there's a lot of editing going on. I actually
You
kind
also
of-
said that
Co-hosting.
you also said that the directing had a lot to do with the editing.
Yeah.
So
That's- yeah.
I'm going to call
You
you
said
out
that
on
better
that,
than
and I'm
I
going to
did.
have you tee that off.
Well, it was first it was by design, and the second part wasn't by design. So the first part was that I wanted to have long takes. I originally saw this shoot as doing just chunks of the scenes, and I wanted them just to roll through it again and again. But just because of it is nice in December, but you have way less daylight, so it came
yeah.
to something where it was like we have a 4:30 sunset, 5 o'clock sunset. Like we don't have the luxury of going through this again and again because that's how I wanted to do it.
Right.
I wanted to shoot the whole thing from its entirety and let them do it like it's a play.
Like
and just
single-
do it from every angle and then just be done. But because of the timing, because of how things were rolling, I realized we couldn't do that. So there was some time, especially towards the end, where I was like, let them roll. We'll figure it out in post, what we want to keep and we don't. We took a couple takes, but really we only did 2, sometimes 1 take for a shot. But I think it was 2 takes for most of them, maybe 3.
Because I think you knew there
knew
were
what I
scenes
wanted.
that it was like, and there were scenes that was like, this is a straightforward scene. Let's
Yeah.
just get this out of the way.
Yeah.
Whereas we also left a lot of time. It's like, let's play around and or you were like, let's improvise here and do some stuff here.
Anyway, that's what's nice about living with the person who's your lead actor is you can have a lot of practice time kind of
Yeah.
crumped in before
Yeah.
you go.
That's
So
great.
We had a lot dialed in before we went in. But the second part, I mean, kudos to Matt Davino. He's really,
Yeah.
Dude, best editor that I know.
he's the
Hands
best.
down.
I remember
Yeah.
watching him. We were doing. We were somewhere and he was looking at Heads Up, another one we're going to talk about eventually, and he was like, we shot it, and he was like, I'm going to edit it, and he was just going insanely fast, and I was like, oh, well, like I'm surprised you're going so fast, and he was like, if you get too emotionally attached when you're editing things, you're not going to make the right choices. You just got to go with your gut. And it's like, if you're doing a good job, you're doing it fairly quickly and efficiently.
Yeah, it was a credit to him because we had some specific stuff in there, but he really knew how to pick out the best stuff, and he really knew where the edits were. And we had some last minute editing before we released it, and he even could accommodate that. So I can't thank Matt Davino enough. I mean, I think he really brought it to another level. I knew what I wanted in each shot, but because of the way we shot it, because of the somewhat disorganization of it, it did. I know it took a lot of effort on his part to make that happen. So I still owe him quite a bit for making it look so good because he really made it look and edit it just the way. Because Matt also has a sense of humor, which you need as an editor for a comedy.
His
video.
sense of humor is real. Like, it's not a dark sense of humor, but it's like a. Oh man, I don't even know the words to use. It's like it's like a
dry.
dirty. It's like a dirty sense of humor.
Yeah.
It's like
it
a
is.
dirt, right? And he's just like,
It is. I completely agree. The second you made that noise, because it is. Just,
Yeah, I can see him.
And
doing
especially
that.
we write comedy, like that's what we do.
Yeah.
And whenever we talk to him about it, it is so funny. Of like, I don't think I've never heard him proclaim himself as a comedian or as someone who is into.
he
Even
loves
as a
it.
great writer, but I've never heard him say like I'm a comedy writer. But whenever we talk to him about comedy stuff, he always can just finish the sentence of like, I know what you're trying to say, and then he also puts his own spin on it, which is just great. Such
Yeah.
a unique skill set he just has, and like I would say he doesn't use that often, but it looks like he uses it all the time.
He uses it a lot. He uses it
He's
quite
got a
bit.
lot of
Yeah.
it, and especially in his movies, there's so many like hilarious things. These like scary movies.
Yeah, and peeling back the curtain a little bit, Matt was the one who brought us in.
Yeah.
And Matt was the person we knew, and he's been like a brother to us, and has been just so gracious with his,
Who brought you guys into the film club?
into the
Oh,
film.
oh,
club.
yeah.
We wouldn't be here today if it
Yeah.
wasn't for Matt Davino in
Yeah.
many respects. So, kudos to him because he just did so much, and he really kind of took the reins and shepherded a lot in the post production process.
And I think he is like everyone in the film club, especially the initial nine. The
was nine
the initial
originally, yeah.
9 of like everyone's
The
got
Knights
their
of the Round Table.
The
There-
initial 9. I like that.
there are things that they do, and I know speaking from our experiences, Matt was a really great one of. Everyone kind of has, from all the people I know in the initial group, have their own way of do the damn thing. And Matt was one of the first people to be like, oh, with this idea, it's like, why does it need to take a lot more? Why don't you just do it? Just go. And like he was the one who brought us in. It was like, we have some ideas for me, but we would like it to pitch. But he was like, pick your very best one and just bring it. Pick your very best one, edit it, make it as good as you can, and just go.
And one of my favorite moments, I think, if I continue to direct, and I hope I do, that I'll never forget this moment. It was one of our first scenes on set, and I was
Of Car Guys.
of Car Guys, and I was starting to just direct or whatever, and I don't think I can even get the calls right. I was so happy to have Juan there to make it look great or to make it sound great. And I remember I called cut so early. Because I knew exactly what I was looking for. I was like, I knew every shot, like what I was looking for. I called cut is so
on
early.
the line. On the line.
Just like, I left a little bit.
done.
Give me credit.
We're done here.
Give me credit. But I was like, just business. And he was like, whoa. Don't be too Hitchcock here.
Did you guys actually? Okay, so I love the banter between director and first AD.
Yeah.
Like, hey, okay, who's calling, cut, action?
Yeah.
Right?
I was too scared. I was like, Juan, you do it. I don't know. I'll mess
You
up.
fucking do it. I don't know.
I'll mess up the
I
order.
love that part of it. Like, okay, hey, check it out. I just want to, I just want to like sit back and like watch, and I want you to be loud. You to be first AD guy. You be loud.
What's funny about that is though, I started my career as a public speaking teacher. I love teaching, so I was actually willing to be that guy. What I didn't have though was the actual technical prowess to know that I was
Yeah.
going to get it right, and I just
Are we done yet?
I
Are we,
didn't want to
like-
mess it up, so I was like, you know what, Juan, you take the lead. Do you take the lead? And it worked out that way. But I was totally ready into that day. I was like, I'm going to be the guy or whatever. And then it like on set, I turned into a fucking mouse, and I was just like,
I mean, 9 times out of 10, it actually is the AD that is doing that, just because that's just like what's understood throughout the day. Like the AD is the one that everybody is listening to and coordinating with, so it makes sense if they're telling you
I totally
to
get
roll
why.
the damn camera, then you should probably roll the camera.
I totally get why. It makes perfect sense now.
So, it is cool that we have our buddy system in the film club, and we actually now very much talk about the buddy system as we bring new people in. Where like, if Matt Davino brought you guys in, it was cool that he stepped up to the plate to help you finish because you don't have experience as an editor.
No.
So to have the dude who brought you in, who supported you as a filmmaker. To help you finish it, to get it to the level that we as Assorted Kinds strive to be playing at, right? With production value, we want it to be high.
Right.
If we were to leave that to a first-time director, first-time editor to finish, it might not have been what it is.
No, it wouldn't be. It wouldn't be. I mean, I was gonna pay. I was willing to make whatever financial commitments I had to make sure it was up to that quality. Just because when I go to any project with Assorted Kinds, I know that everybody's putting their time on. And time is the only resource you can't get back. And so I knew that whatever stuff I have going on in my life, I have to make sure this project gets its due diligence and gets to where it's supposed to go. Not for me even, just for everybody else on set who is working hard to get somewhere, and this might be the thing they get noticed for. That's not lost on me. And so, there was definitely times, 4 months out from the project that, I'm a teacher in my day job, and I had a lot of stuff going on in my life, and I still had to burn the midnight oil to make sure this was going to get done. Because it was even 5 days before it was done, I was on the call with a buddy of mine trying to get a little bit of music in at the end because it had to be there. Because to me, I had to make sure this was exactly the thing that I wanted to see on screen. Not for me, but just because of everybody else. I wanted to make sure everybody else was proud of the project too. And Matt was huge on that.
Who did the music?
Is a buddy of mine who's actually in as a background person in Heads Up. His name is Tom Yurkovich.
Coming soon.
Yep,
Coming
Tom Yurkovich. He is a fantastic a music person, but also a good actor and comedian.
Song's so good. So is Wiggle My Baby Butt.
That was not
that's a
Tom
different
Yurkovich.
friend.
That's a different audio friend.
Cool.
That is
They're
the
both pretty
person
good. Oh,
who did the
They did a good
score.
job making
Yeah,
him sound like
so-
it was by the same guy.
Yeah.
Can we sing it? Can we sing it?
Wiggle my baby butt. I want to wiggle my baby butt.
That was, we actually had 2 tracks. We had 2 tracks. That was one of 2 tracks that character had. And that was made by Mr. Kenny Gray, who is a musical genius.
So
I'm going to put it down
easily one of our most talented.
He scored
friends.
Last One Screaming.
He scored
Last
Last One
One
Screaming.
Screaming.
I'm sure he'll score many other things in the
Oh.
future. He's incredibly talented. He's actually Mike Morrissey's childhood friend and someone I met in college. So.
Also probably Sugar Daddy.
Sugar Daddy?
Yeah, how'd you? I mean, he pay for you to get to Los Angeles.
He
I
paid
think
for
I
me to
bought
get to
you
Los
out.
Angeles. He paid for me to go to college. He pays for my things, my house.
He
But
takes care of him.
he takes care of me.
Mike doesn't work. What are you talking
And he
about?
can't afford to come to Los Angeles because who's going to pay for me?
Yeah.
He lives in Boston, making them bucks.
Yeah, so there's a lot of people involved in this.
He's a very good friend of ours, and like he is in the original in Mike Hayden Kenny, like the three of us have a big history of making things together.
Yeah.
And like that, he knows Matt through friends of ours, and like anything he puts his hands on is. He's a very talented comedian, very, very talented songwriter and composer and whatnot. And
Just so you guys have context, he made 2 songs for us. One of them
Yeah.
we didn't even use. It was going to go in the end credits. And that original song, we only played about 20 seconds of. He made about 2 minutes of that song. So it was really crazy that every aspect of this film was collaborative, but it also was made with a lot of love. I mean, every little part. And the part that I was talking about 5 days before was that little bit of piano when he's telling the dramatic story. I was like, it can't happen without a little bit of piano. It can't happen. So, we just had to pull all the stops for him.
that was Tom. Yurkovich.
Yeah, Tom Yurkovich.
Yeah, Yurkovich.
Very, very funny. guy.
Yurkovich.
Weird
Yurkovich.
Tom
Yeah, with the C.
Yurkovich.
Yeah.
So let's jump into distribution of this thing, right?
Yeah.
Launching it. Okay, so
Yeah.
we are about to launch. Then we hit the go button.
Yeah.
And now it's live on the internet.
Yeah.
Now what?
Man. Well, I got big hopes for it. I mean, I think it was pretty well received. Everybody who I knew who saw it was really happy with it. The people who worked on it were really happy with it, but the people who saw it were like, "Wow, this is really good." Because up until then, people who knew me and Mike were doing a lot of iPhone videos, a lot of a lot of really crappy video.
You go on
quality
YouTube and
videos.
find some very.
Hey guys, look at me. I'm a filmmaker.
Yeah, we were not trying to be
Gotta
filmmakers. We
start
were trying to be
somewhere.
funny.
In our earlier days, we were trying. The earlier it goes, the harder we were trying to like make things really good, and then we got a little older and
You're like,
better.
"This is
We're doing.
hard."
We're like, oh, that's
Yeah,
just
it's
not
very
tried
hard.
nearly as hard.
we are
which is
barely
funny
making
to-
as writers. We can barely do.
Well,
this.
exactly. And in 2011, when we were making videos, Hayden and I would stay up all night planning like it's gonna. When we met doing improv and comedy in college, and our first chance to make our own video with the group, like we spent all night writing what the shots are gonna look like, working so hard to make this thing look good. And then as we realized how much time that takes, it was like, why don't we just kind of like fart this thing out and like see what happens? Which was fun to then end up back in Car Guys when Hayden was spending every day with that yellow notepad or the yellow legal paper of like planning out every little shot and like
Damn that yellow legal pad.
Hey man, I love that.
but having
I
it
love it.
come
It was
having
great.
it come
You
full
don't even know what you're
circle.
talking about.
I'm pro pad. Like,
you.
if you guys want to be
Thank you.
anti pad,
Kevin's just making
Thank
shit
you,
up to
KRQ.
support Hayden. I get it. Whatever.
I'm just saying, like, there's two sides to every pad.
That's right. That's what they say.
But
But
it was
I want
fun.
to. I want to ask. Actually,
I'll shut
I want to try host this for a second, and I want to ask actually Michael Morrissey, what was it like for you
Ooh.
to see yourself on
He's hosting.
screen?
Is he allowed
I don't
to
know.
do
I
that?
don't know. If he's on.
Guys,
Listen.
just go with it. It's a podcast. We're
All right,
live.
fine,
All right.
fine.
That's how they work, right? Mike, how was it for you though that you got to see yourself live, and what was that like seeing everybody who knew you? And you're no longer a teacher at the moment,
I'm no longer a
but
teacher.
at that point you were. So,
Yeah.
so can you talk about that a little bit, like what that was? Because I don't think I've actually asked you this in person. Even this is not just like a stage thing. This is
I mean, whatever. You got to ask some questions sometimes. Might as well be on a podcast.
yeah. I waited
Yeah.
for this for
Yeah.
gold.
That's it.
So what was it like for you, Mike?
What, seeing it?
Seeing yourself, but then also having other people see you on it. Because I don't think I've ever asked you that. I think we kind of once it was done.
Did you watch it?
Not a lot. I don't.
There's
like,
200 views, 199 of them are
that's-
Mike. One of them
that's
is
the
me.
way I
Well,
am.
especially because
watch
my
myself.
my two favorite things
I'm not gonna
about
watch this podcast.
my two favorite things about this was number one, it was going into I think Matt Kraft is who wrote the initial
Yeah.
script of it is so funny. Like if
Okay.
like,
Okay. Come on, man. Like
But-
we've given him enough.
All right, no. All right, Matt, write about it in the comments if you don't like.
Yeah, Matt, we want to
but,
hear from you.
But what I
Just
like so
comment.
much about it is like I'm sure so many people who do stuff on screen every once in a while, it's like I'm uncomfortable watching myself on screen in a sense of like no one likes hearing their own voice, no one likes seeing themselves on screen. It's just a thing, and like from the lows to the low, the highs to the high, people will be like, I don't like watching myself. But what I loved about it was I really love Matt Kraft. I really love how I liked his writing. I liked what the thing was. I thought Hayden did such a good job, and while where I lacked in appreciating watching what I did, I had so much. I had the absolute best time shooting it, and I had the absolute best time riffing with Tom. So when I think about it in hindsight, I'm like, well, I know I brought I know I had a blast, and I was laughing doing it. And I know that Matt Davino is so funny. I was like, I know he's editing it with Hayden, and he's going to make it good. I know Hayden worked his bottom off, like making it as good as possible. I know Hayden's hilarious. So and our friends Kenny and Tom, who did the music, I knew it was going to be good. So in hindsight, it's like, I loved that it was, I loved being a part and doing what I felt like was the very best thing I could at least offer to be a part of something which I thought ended up really great. And I feel comfortable saying it's great because it's, you can put the ego aside of I'm not one to be like, I was great in this. It's the last thought I have. Everyone has their own critiques, as I'm sure it is for you guys too. If you're DPing, if you're directing, of like, I would have done that. I hate this. I hate the way this looks. But when you're like, but if I'm gonna be in a movie directed by Hayden with music by Tom and Kenny, like with like produced by Chris and like edited by Matt Davino, like why would you say no to something like that? And it's like, yeah.
Yeah,
So
I gotta mirror that sentiment definitely. Of like from my own point of view, probably like a lot of folks did a lot of stuff on my own or whatever, and that really is like there's no one else to place the blame on, if you want to put
Oh,
it
yeah.
that way.
No, you're
but I was so incredibly happy with choices when it was done, even just when we were done shooting, let alone when it was finally like edited and people got to actually look at it and see a finished product. I was just like, it didn't even matter at that point. I was just so stoked that like so many people had worked together on it, that like it wasn't about how I felt about
The
it.
night after, the night we were done. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
Mike?
oh my
Rap
god!
night?
Rap night, post rap night.
Because
Like,
we didn't spend a lot of
We
time
lived
together on
together.
set because it was what's his face? Oh my god!
it was Christmas Eve, is what you're saying.
It was their place. It was
James?
I'm thinking James. Oh, sorry, James. It was James's place, right? And so we didn't hang out there afterwards like we normally would. It wasn't on the compound, like
Yeah,
half
if it's
of
on the
Assorted
compound, we
Kinds
just
was.
kick it.
Assorted,
right?
Assorted
Yeah.
Kind Studios.
So
Yeah.
it was kind of
Real talk.
I like that.
Yeah, I like that a lot. It was kind of strange in that like we all kind of had to leave really quickly after, and so me and Mike actually went home, and I don't think we slept that night.
No,
like,
it was
we
one of
were
those like so wired
buzzing.
things of like.
Oh my
But,
god! It was just we were just so appreciative of just having that experience before we even got to see it. But I think for me, having saw it, I was still like, is this good? I don't know. I really don't know until I was with other people or I saw other people watch it, and then it was like,
I think
know it wasn't.
It like goes down
And
like
it
the
wasn't.
smoothest drink ever. Like as far as like all the shorts we've had thus far, they've all got their own. Like you could see people being like, I don't like that Mr. Mailman. It was a little too weird for me, or whatever the old folks say. But like this just goes down so smooth. It was just like the best. Like no one. It's just like didn't get too heavy, but it wasn't too light. It was just.
Well, I think
I'm
that
happy with it.
my experience with this was like the quintessential, in my opinion, from my experience from the beginning of Assorted Kinds of. I think how you should feel, maybe not should, but I think how the best case scenario of how I would like to feel at the end of a shoot like this is like, man, especially with Hayden and I as such close friends, it's like, man, I don't know how I did or whatever. Like I'm self-conscious in my own ways, and I know you directed for your first time, but it was the high of like being such good friends for such a long time and wanting to do something for so long. I think it's such a great feeling at the end to be like, not almost like we tricked everyone, but it's like we got this really, really smart like audio guy, this smart, great lighting guy, and this great DP. We almost tricked everybody of like we did our very, very best, and these other people got on board, and it's like no one, even if Matt edits it and it's like this is dog shit. It's like no one can take away the day that we had, and you know what I mean.
For sure.
I think if you're a part of a collaborative process, everyone's gonna get insecure. So if you end the day leaving like I can't believe I tricked everyone as long as I could by trying my best, and everybody else did their best, and I was a part of this really great thing, and I'll be the weakest link.
Yeah.
And then when you look back on it, it's like it's just great. I think I feel so many people have that idea of like,
Do you feel like you did the best you could?
absolutely.
Do you feel like you did the best you could?
no, at 10%. No, of course I
No,
did.
real talk.
No, real talk. Yeah, it was the most I've worked on something outside of my job for sure. And it was what was really rewarding for me was I went into the day. My priority, and I think I even talked to you about this, was my priority was I think we splurged on food and stuff because my priority was I want everybody to have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
I want everybody to have a really good time on set. And I really felt like, maybe this is just me, but I really felt like the whole day went really swimmingly. We were done before sun went down. It was a fun day and everybody was laughing. So I think for me, when I see that now, I think about the actual shoot rather than what the finished product was.
Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
experience. It's
Yeah.
the experience of collaborating with a good group, right? Our group is heavily vetted in regards to energy, right?
Yeah.
It's positive energy only. Don't bring
Yeah.
your negative shit onto our set,
Right.
Because we're not spending a bunch of money because we sign up to be people powered. We sign up to be collectively created without it being about money.
Right. And the only way that works is if people are having a good time.
Right.
Because if it's miserable, at least you have the paycheck, right? But if you don't have the paycheck, then you're not going to come back.
Right.
So, it's part of that experience too. It's part of trying to make it fun and all
Right.
that.
So I think you did a great job. Thank you
Thank
guys
you.
for doing it.
Thanks for having us.
It's interesting. I just want to touch on one more thing about
Sure.
distribution, right? And the internet is a pay-to-play ecosystem.
Yeah.
And we've learned this, right? And we put our projects out. We put them on YouTube.
Yeah.
We are brand new. We are a very new space
Yeah.
for launching short film content, and we don't get a whole lot of traffic organically. There's not people just coming to our websites
Not yet.
because we're not spending money to get them there. We're not spending money to make sure that they even know we exist yet.
We don't even want people to know we
We
exist.
definitely do.
Okay,
And
agree to disagree.
yeah,
don't?
Edit that out, Kevin.
subjective perspectives is totally okay.
I'm sorry, Chris.
As soon as we start getting people to Assorted Kinds and aware of what it is, I can't wait to see how they react to that project.
Oh, thank you.
And because it is a really good, just what we associate as like this. There is an American comedy genre, and I think that Car Guys fits into the
Yes.
American comedy
Insecurity,
genre.
toxic masculinity. Sure. Yeah.
Yep. There's a lot of things.
There's a lot of things.
There's a lot of things we have to
American
work on.
comedy.
Amazing music.
So much we have to
exactly,
work
exactly.
on. And other countries have already worked on it for decades. It's out in the open.
But if
right?
there's one
But
thing
we're
that we
still
can
there.
do, if you want to talk about American stuff, I mean, if there's one thing that we can do is explore these things through art, and I feel like
sure.
a lot of other countries, for whatever reasons, may not be able to do that, and that is something that's part of why I'm here doing what I am doing, is because we so far still have the privilege of being able to do that.
So far.
I mean, yeah, right now at this moment, we still have that privilege, and
And that's why we're just like pushing
Timestamp
through and doing it
day.
once a month, every month,
Yeah.
and we've just been plowing ahead.
So,
No reason to stop.
I would say that my biggest takeaway was just how long and time consuming the post production is. I think that was something that was sort of a rude awakening for me. I'm coming from an improv background. When you can prepare somewhat, and then you're on stage, and that's the meat and potatoes of it. Then when you're done, you're done, right? When I'm done with my job at 5, I love my job, but when I'm done at 5, I'm done, right? With directing, it's just not that way. You have a lot of stuff going on, and there's still so many loose ends to keep up with. And I think that's something I wish I would have done a better job with. I think, again, credits to Matt. I think he was a huge help in that. I think he was a big part in making that go as smoothly as it did. But I think in the future, that's something I'm definitely more wary of before I get started. On any project. And I think you really, really have to love a project. I loved this project. If I was sort of half in and I was just being advantageous and I wanted to direct, there's just no way I would have quit on it at some point. It's just too hard and too grueling. It's a 7th month commitment. So
at the time, mind you, year 1 of Assorted Kinds, we were kind of like, producers were in until the day of production, and then producers were kind of like hands off in post production.
Yeah.
And now we're realizing that when the producer jumps on, the main producer really we're kind of like trying to inspire this whole grab the bull by the horns and really assist the director all the way to completion. Get it all, be a part of the process all the way to the end, distribution, right? Because specifically, and I complained about this with Fantastic Folly of Future Jess, about man, I was alone. I felt alone in the post-production process. And I was on my own, and I was spiraling out of control, and I don't know if anybody knew it. I was trying to plead for help.
We all know, Chris.
And I needed a producer to be there for me, and I didn't have it. And then I had to learn to say, "Hey, I need that.
Yeah,
I need it," because if I'm directing, I'm a writer director for the first time, and also editing it.
Right.
It's never gonna get finished. And I need someone to fucking crack the whip, help me out, check me, soundboard me, all those things. Anyways, so
speaking of which, we have to finish.
Okay, Hayden, where can people find you and your work on the internet?
God,
yeah,
go to Mike P. Morrissey on the gram.
Mike is my wife. Just go to him. No, you can find me at Hayden_Harrower. That's how you pronounce that. Harrower. HARROWER at Instagram. Other than that, you can find us at our YouTube channel, Ask, otherwise known as Assorted Kinds. Other than that, you can find me on LinkedIn, the newest network around town.
Whoa.
Hayden Harrower.
So you use LinkedIn?
I do. I am a real.
Okay.
I'm in the other side of things. I'm on the creative.
Mike Morrissey, where can people find you on the internet?
Check me out on Instagram at Mike P. Morrissey. I'm not on Twitter. I'm using Instagram for all my needs.
There you go.
Yeah, and keep it posted. Hayden and I are always together, and there might be some live shows in the near future.
There might be some crazy stuff going
so
on.
just keep in. I'll put stories and information on stuff we're doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And of course, always assortedkinds.com.
Assortedkinds.com.
Yeah.
Kevin, thanks for co-hosting with me. We've said where to find us many times before.
Yeah, you know it.
Assorted Kinds.
We're on Assorted Kinds. You can listen to podcasts. You can watch our shorts. You can.
Whoa! Wait, before we go, do you think we could end with saying Ton's last name?
Oh, what is his last name? 1, 2, 3.
Okay, who doesn't know his name?
I don't know his name.
Yeah, it's different every time. All right. Thanks, you guys.
Thanks.